Hey, this is Mr. Locking, and this is 6 things you need to know for the grade 6 social studies PAT. Oh, Mr. Locking, Mr. Locking, if you're going to teach us the things we need to know for the PAT in a quick 6-minute video, then why do we have to learn about it all year? Yes, me from the past. The knowledge that we know, I could explain shortly, but the actual understanding of how to work together in a community is much more important and takes a lot more work. Yeah. But you're saying if I know these things, I'm going to do okay on the test? Yes, you're going to do fine on the test if you know these things. Okay, first, the 4 pillars of Canadian democracy: justice, freedom, equity, and representation. These 4 things hold our democracy up. These are 4 big concepts that our democracy is built upon. The idea of justice, meaning that the rules are fair and people are treated fairly. So the police, the courts, the laws, they all should lead towards this feeling of justice. Freedom, this idea of breaking our chains, being free to think what we want. Freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of conscience, freedom of association. The idea is that individuals are free. Equity, very close to equality, but a little bit different, because instead of everyone getting the same thing, everyone can get what they need to be successful. So the idea of equity, that we should have equal opportunities in life. And then representation. Not that we all govern ourselves, but that we govern ourselves through voting for someone who is going to represent us. Which brings us to representative democracy versus direct democracy. A representative democracy is one in which you vote for politicians and then they represent you in government. They vote on the laws, they make the rules. Direct democracy is when all citizens vote directly on laws and make decisions. Ancient Greeks did this at the assembly. Our democracy is mostly a representative democracy, although sometimes we do have referendums, which would be an example of a direct democracy. The Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. This document, enshrined in the Constitution, lays out what rights and freedoms we have as Canadians. So the fundamental freedoms: freedoms of religion, freedoms of thought, freedom of belief, freedom of speech. Democratic rights, rights all about voting, that governments have to sit at least once a year, the same government can't be in power, and that you have the right to vote if you are a citizen above the age of 18. Mobility rights, this is all about moving within Canada and outside of Canada. You can move and work in other places. Legal rights, you have the right to an attorney, your right to be assumed innocent until proven guilty, trials are fair, imprisonment is fair. Equality rights, everyone has the right to be treated fairly and equally and cannot be discriminated against, whether that's based on gender or ethnicity. There's a whole list of things, but treated equally. And language rights, because we're officially a bilingual country, people can communicate with the government in either French or English, and that includes education. And there are other rights: Aboriginal rights, Canadians' multicultural heritage, male and female equality, and other issues that are covered. So all of these rights are, or I guess do, have limits, reasonable limits to all of these rights. So you can't just say anything if it's going to hurt others. That would be categorized as hate speech. Examples like that. Okay, local or provincial government. Local government is like your city or your township. So if we live in Calgary, this is our municipal building, and the local government covers things like public transportation, fire, waste disposal, parks and recreation, animal control, libraries, streets and roads, and senior facility. The provincial government is the province. So here in Alberta, that would be Alberta in Edmonton, because that's our capital. They have members of the Legislative Assembly and cabinet ministers, the lieutenant governor, the premier, and they have different responsibilities. Their biggest 2 responsibilities are health and education. So remember, we have local government, provincial government, and we also have federal government, but we don't focus as much on that in grade 6. Fifth, ancient Greece. This is our example of direct democracy, and the courts, Council of 500, and the assembly. So the assembly is where citizens would go to talk and vote directly on decisions. The Council of 500 would be the day-to-day running of the government, and the court would have a jury, a magistrate, plaintiff, and defendant, and they would decide on punishments at the court. And finally, the Iroquois Confederacy. This is our example of consensus, so deciding by consensus. And chiefs, clan mothers, and the Grand Council. The clan mothers are the leader of the clans. They're selected by the chiefs. No, they're not selected by the chiefs. They select the chiefs. Sorry, that's important. The chiefs lead the society, and they could be war chiefs or pine tree chiefs. Although really the clan mothers lead the society more. And then the Grand Council are when the chiefs come together from all nations, and they can make decisions based on consensus. So those are your 6 things you need to know for the grade 6 social studies PAT. That is a very short, quick review where I wasn't quite as clear as I would hope to have been, but I hope that it was still valuable. Please, as always, ask me questions, reach out, use your notes, make connections, and get interested, because I think it is actually quite an interesting topic. My suggested activity for you is to go back through these 6 things and make a mind map, jotting down quick notes for each topic to process that information. You can start with a circle in the middle of your page and then have 6 lines moving out of it, which would be your mind map of the topic. Okay.